My name is Brian Vickers. I'm a program manager at Bureau Veritas, and today we're going to talk about CMMS systems, or computerized maintenance management systems. So really the way to think about a CMMS system is purchasing one is not really an end objective, it's really an entire roadmap of having an effective maintenance management organization. There's a whole bunch of things that really go into having a really top-notch maintenance management organization. So purchasing one is a great first step, but it's not really the end-all be-all. So how do you get the most out of it? First thing is really having an inventory of your assets. So understanding what is in my portfolio, which buildings are in my portfolio, and what assets are within those buildings. Okay, and so that has a lot of flavors to it, but really understanding every single asset that you have. The next step sort of on that roadmap is having preventative maintenance schedules for each of those assets, because there's countless studies that tell us that focusing and prioritizing preventative maintenance is really the key to saving maintenance hours, saving maintenance dollars, limiting downtime of equipment and facilities. So that's really the next thing on the roadmap. Beyond that, starting to define what does the customer service experience look like. So one, how do I receive my work orders? Are they sort of flying in from all directions? Do I get the hey you kind of work orders, or hey Bob, that kind of work order? Or are they all processing through my CMMS system? Are they all being tracked the same way? How do I handle after hours? So all that's really part of the discussion, and that's probably one of the biggest cultural changes that any maintenance management organization has to undertake in order to effectively implement a CMMS system. So you have to start thinking about, how do I prioritize the work orders that I do receive? So do I have a numerical system? Do I define things as emergency, urgent, and routine? And then where does preventative maintenance fall in that scale? So if I've got a guy doing preventative maintenance and we get an emergency call, what is he to do? And then an advanced concept beyond prioritizing just the work orders is prioritizing the facilities in the portfolio. So for building owners and managers that have more than one building, you probably have a difference of priority within the building. So if the heat goes out in the maintenance shed, that's a different priority than if the heat goes out in a residential space or in a senior living, right? So defining what is my priority based on what the call is, and then what's my priority on the facility type itself. Both of those have to play together, but that's really how you start to build how do we handle our backlog? How do we work down this massive list that we have? Another advanced concept that really maintenance organizations have to consider is, how do we plan for maintenance? So do we have a convergent team where all the stakeholders get together and do things like, okay, we've got a number of preventative maintenance steps that require a building shutdown or a system shutdown, so let's align those so that it's minimizing the downtime for the residents or the tenants. So concepts like that are really important to also evaluate if you're going to effectively implement a CMMS system. So another concept that also goes with this is, how do I continually update the data in my CMMS platform? So it's a lot of effort to get it in there. How do I keep that current and relevant? How do the guys in the field feed back information into the system once the work is done, or once an asset has been changed out? And then conversely, let's just say you have a piece of equipment that's really a lemon, and you're putting a lot of time and effort into it, how does that information go to your capital planning team from the maintenance team? That's definitely something to consider. Effectively running your CMMS platform and looking at where do our hours go, where do our dollars go, is the first step in understanding where should our capital dollars go. Where are we spending too much time and too much effort? That plays right into, if I'm running a CMMS system, I've got to start pulling metrics out that are relevant to us, to our organization, right? And so there's a number of metrics I would recommend. Things like, what is your preventive maintenance to corrective maintenance ratio of your work orders? That would tell you if your PM program is effective or it's not effective. What percentage of my PM work orders am I actually closing out versus ones that just stay open indefinitely? What about customer satisfaction? Are people generally favorably viewing the maintenance organization or not? And then how effectively are we looking at where do our hours and dollars go? Which pieces of equipment? Do my maintenance technicians come back to me with 8 full hours a day assigned to work orders, or is it 4 or 5 hours and then there's some questionable time in there? So all those kind of metrics, those KPIs, really should be pulled out of a CMMS system to start to evaluate if you're running an effective maintenance management organization. So very typical of clients we see is the flow of work orders is really irregular. So it's calling technicians directly, it's calling a helpline, maybe an after-hours service. So culturally, teaching all of the people who call in work orders that this is the official way to get it done is a huge sea change culturally for a lot of people. We see that a lot. Another one that we see is that maintenance and capital planning don't talk to each other. So developing an internal process to actually force that function, whether it's maybe a quarterly or some kind of recurring meeting, that's key. If clients don't even have an inventory of data, having someone like Bureau Veritas come in and provide that inventory, that baseline, is really important. And a lot of clients either don't have the time or the expertise to capture that data. So having someone else come in and give you a third-party look of not only what you have, but what the conditions are, is key to even starting on this whole road of effective maintenance management.